And now we can see. So we have to switch to full screen mode. Now it is visible. Now it's okay. And now it's okay. Good.
Give me a minute. Fine. Good morning, one and all. So I'm happy to connect with you again after giving a small introduction on Monday, I guess. Yeah. So I believe we might have learned a lot of things in the last 5 days. I think it's almost the last session. Yeah. Maybe a few more sessions we may plan for. Yeah, but it's almost
Only
the last
one session. Only one session.
This is the last session.
Not last session. Previous to the
last.
One more is that.
Okay, fine. So I'm sure most of the participants might have got a lot of information, right? So they might have got a lot of information with them, a lot of knowledge. So they may be, bumbling with a lot of knowledge and everything now. So I'm going to add some more to it now through this session. So for today, I have planning to talk to you regarding deep neural networks. Okay, it's about the deep learning anyway. Okay, so this is about the deep learning. So I wanted to take these deep neural networks, and I will be concentrating on only one of the algorithms. And let's see, let me go to the agenda without wasting time. So as you can see here, before I wanted to start, I would like to acknowledge, I would like to read this acknowledgement. Let me just close. So I would like to read this acknowledgement. So the contents in these slides were used only for research and knowledge sharing purpose. The images, icons, data, facts, graphics reused from different sources, and I acknowledge the authors and all their efforts. Okay, so I use a lot of graphics and a lot of images and the data and everything. So I wanted to acknowledge the actual users or authors of this content. Okay, so let's see quickly the agenda, what I am going to share with you today, right? So this is my first topic. Like, I am going to compare uh, how our computer works compared to our brain. So we know our brain is an amazing machine, right? It cannot match with anything, right? So, but I wanted to give a quick comparison between how a brain and how our computer works. I want to have a quick comparison on that. And then I'm going to introduce to what is a neural network. I'm going to give you a small idea of what are the neural networks, and we are going to cover some basics of it. And then I am going to cover this particular convolutional neural network. This is one of the very popular neural networks among AI community, and it's very powerful as well. So I have taken this particular thing, convolutional neural network, and I'm going to share with you how it works. Okay, so we are going to see how it works and what key terminologies are related and the stuff. And then where this CNN is highly used, okay, the real-time applications of CNN, some interesting use cases. And if you want to develop an CNN, not only for CNN, anything related to AI, what are the tools and technologies available in the market now? I will give you a quick overview and maybe a little bit talk about that. And finally, I'll conclude and I will leave the floor open for Q&A. So for this session, most of the things I made it theoretical. Okay, so you cannot, I mean, it's not more technical. But if you have already have some background about neural network, definitely this will help you. But nonetheless, I have given most of the basic things here. So I'm sure you will get good knowledge about convolutional neural network at the end of this session. Okay, right. So let's start with brain versus computer. So whenever we talk about, whenever you just go to the internet and just look for CNN or any deep learning algorithm, look for examples. You can find a lot of examples that talks about how the animals are identified, how the birds are identified, how different cars are identified using neural network, and how the people are identified using neural networks, etc. Flowers are identified, all these things. So, but today I wanted to take it in a different path. Okay, let's go very local. Okay, so something like this. Okay, so this is one I wanted to share with you, right? So when you just have a look at this picture, immediately our brain is able to classify this image, right? So what is it about? This is a classification of Indian snacks, high level classification, right? So high level classification, I am able to say that this is an Indian snacks. Immediately I can say by seeing the picture, I can classify, my brain is able to classify this as an Indian snacks, right? And then after classification of as Indian snacks, again, I can still go another level saying it's a kind of, it looks like mostly I can South Indian snacks, right? So something like that. So in level 1, we identify the image, this are related to the snacks, and then immediately we classified this as an Indian snacks. Correct. So that is a level 1. I would say this is a kind of a level 1 neural network. Our brain works in this way. Okay, right. So I just go to the next picture. Okay, here I am going to present you with another picture. Okay, so now what do you infer from this picture? As you can see here, our brain can identify this is a snacks and this is an Indian snacks. And moreover, now you can say that this is all looks like a type of vadas, right? Different type of vadas. So my brain is doing little more work for us. Okay, as you can see here, these are all type of vadas, right? And after this, when you see all these vadas, you can have a look. See, many of us are familiar with, if you're from South India, many of us are familiar with these two vadas, right? We know what is this soft vada, ulundu vada or something, and then dal vada. And we know this is a dal parupu vada or something, right? Medu vada and all that. We are familiar with that. And people coming from North India, they can easily identify this one, right? Vada pav, right? They can easily identify this is a kind of a vada pav. And bonda also is very popular among us, right? And out of which, if you see, even for me, when I take this, see this picture, some of it really I don't know. My brain don't understand this. What is this? I'm curious to know what is this one, and even this one. So now, after I read the information or the content, I came to know that this is an poga vada. I immediately tag this image with a label called poga vada in my brain. Okay, immediately my brain will do that. I don't take any extra effort. Correct? I immediately do that. I just label it, this is a poga vada. And this one is called sabudana vada. Okay, I'm not sure how many of you cooked, or how many of you have eat it, or how many of you have heard about this. But for me, this is the first time. Okay, so these two are new. So what will happen now next time when somebody or wherever I see this picture, my brain can immediately capture, oh, this is a poga vada, this is sabudana vada. I can easily, because at this level 2, what happens? The image is identified and image is labeled and classified. I quickly identified the image, I quickly classified the image, and along with that, my brain has done some more labeling act as well. So this picture labeled as poga and another picture labeled as sabudana vada. So that is how our brain works. Okay, second level. The third level, I wanted to see, you might have seen in many places. Okay, if you are going to a regular, if you are a regular, street food eater, you might have watched this, all the snack shop, any nearby tea shop you can go, you might have watched. I have to think that the person who is making the vada master, for example, so how his brain is amazing. Okay, anyway, he got a very much experience. So maybe instead of the vada master, suppose let's say when you go for taking a tea, but the vada master suddenly ask you to take proper vada, take care of this. Do you think you can do your work properly for the first time? So I'm sure it's very hard, right? So we may be taking few vadas which are all not properly cooked or boiled, okay, right? And you may be cooking a vada which is not yet boiled, or it may be half boiled, or it may be become more boiled, or kind of what do you say, fried, so too much fried. So here our brain has to work properly for the brain, vada master, and it has to say which vada has to take at right time. Okay, you might have noticed here these vadas deserve to be taken as the first time, right? So first time he will take all this vada and he will wait. And you can watch from the picture now, you can see anyone you might have familiar with making vada, or you might have watched your mom or wife making this vada. Anyone knows that the next set of vada to be taken out of this pan is what? The little brown, right? The one like this. These are all my next target, or the next level, next set of vadas I need to immediately take, right? So this is for 2. I can classify this should be taken for 2, right? So this is level 1. And third level, I can say a little more lighter brown, right? So this is my third set of vadas that I may have to take. Okay, there are few vadas something like this. This may deserve to be taken at the end. Can you see here? These are all not yet boiled. So I can say the fourth set of vadas that has to be taken from my pan. So this is very amazing how our brain works, right? So that is the context. Okay, so this is the context. My brain knows not only it identified the image, not only it identified, it classified the image, and it goes for another level of classification, multiple level of classification. It says in each set which vada I have to take, how much time it will take. It's a lot of calculation, and the vada master can be able to do this job perfectly well. So that is the power of brain, and the brain of the vada master works, or our human works with the context. So this is the greatest thing that is lacking in the computer. Can you just ask in Google or anything to any program to pick this one? So how we are going to make that? We need to do a deep learning. So that's why our vada master might have, maybe first time you maybe struggle to do this. Maybe if you do it further, you learn quickly. It go for deep learning and all that, and you will be able to get the work. You can do the work properly. Okay, right. So here, as you can see here, so if we give these images to the computer, for example, you give this image, or you give this image, or you give this image, or any image you give to computer and ask him to do the work. You just give the computer to do the work. Just tell me which are all vada pav, which are all snacks, which are all poha vada, which are all sabudana vada. Tell me which one I have to take next. So how can I make the computer to work like that? Can you think that for computer, for all the images for us, immediately I can see, when I see the image, I can immediately classify and things are running quickly. But for the computer see this image, for them, it's nothing but zeros and one. It's all numbers. Okay. So more than that, how it will classify, it will just see, like it will try to, based on these RGB colors, red, green, blue, and it will try to differentiate, and it will assign a number for each of the image pixels, and then it will do some processing. You agree with me? So basically, when I give the image, my brain works with the context, whereas the computer works with the numbers. It doesn't know what is the context. It doesn't know what is the snacks. It doesn't know what is vada. It doesn't know anything. Okay, so there is a human intervention is required. It sees is all numbers, and most probably it will take an image at a image, each and every image in a squares of an array in a matrix, and try to map it with an RGB channel and try to assume the numbers. So that is how a computer works. Okay, so you might be understand now how a brain and the computer, what is an association between the brain and computer, how our brain works and how the computer works. Okay, so for that matter, you don't underestimate our computer. Okay, so I am supporting a human being, at the same time we cannot underestimate, and all these pictures are taken from Google. Okay, so definitely we have to say thanks to Google, and all these images are taken from Google. Okay, all right. So now with this introduction, with this understanding, with this background, let's try to define what is a neural network. Okay, so let's try to define what is a neural network. As you know, our brain is basically, we call it as it's a neurals, right? It consists of a lot of neurons. So basically this word might have definitely come from our the mimicking our real brain or the human brain, right? So let's try to define what is a neural network. So there are many definitions you can find in the internet. Okay, so ANN, the other name, the artificial neural network or computing system inspired by the biological neural network that constitute animal brains or human brains. Okay, basically it is nothing but it is a kind of a system, computing system, that is similar to our biological neural networks. Okay, so neural network, when you say neural network, many of you may think it is an algorithm. It is not an algorithm. It is a kind of a framework. So from where there can be many tools, algorithm, language, everything can be derived. Okay, so neural networks, the framework for many different machine learning algorithms. Okay, and these different tools or an algorithms or languages can work together to process or to work the way like our biological human neural network. Okay, right. So the next step now, if you want to get a proper or a very, very good definition, this is one of them. Okay, a neural network is a predictive model that uses statistical and mathematical functions for predictions or guess. So as you know, whenever we are talking about AI, okay, artificial intelligence or a neural network, the prediction or the word predict is very, very important. It's highly important. Why? Because when you just show me an apple and ask me to say what, if you ask me a question, what is that? I can immediately say apple. It is 100% correct. I cannot say I cannot predict. I cannot say I predict. It is like I think it's like 80% it looks like apple. So I cannot say that. If it's an apple, if my brain works properly, I should say 100% confident it's an apple. But whenever we use an AI algorithm, whenever we use a neural network, this prediction plays very, very important. Okay. So in the neural network, when you give, there is no algorithm that may be able to finish. No one can claim 100%. So even 99% people may say, or 80%, 70%, 30%, okay, something like that. Okay. So as long as your algorithm able to predict something more than 90% or 80%, then we can say it is something closer to our human brain. Again, listen here, note down the point, it cannot match. It can close to the brain action. Okay. So basically neural networks, a predictive model, it will use a different algorithm, mathematical functions and everything to predict or guess to some kind of accuracy, right? So when we talk about this neural network, what are the things we need? As I told you, if you remember, when you show me the boha vada or sabudana vada to me for the first time, I don't know about it. Maybe I will try to find out what is that vada. Maybe I might have seen I will ask someone, or I will try to read it from somewhere and I will try to label that. Okay. So the very first requirement for running any neural network algorithm, we need to have a huge label data. Every image has to be labeled. Okay. So you might have noticed in labeling is one of the biggest tasks in neural network or AI algorithms. It needs a huge labeled data as a first requirement. Then we need to process the data. Then we need to identify the recurring pattern, correct? And finally, we will use that pattern for the prediction, right? So now you can think how our brain works quickly. Somebody show me sabudana vada with the dots on it. It has a different color, white dots, round in shape. And if we see all that, these are all the labeling. So when I see hundreds of sabudana vada in different shapes, or I will try to identify what is the pattern. Maybe it is going to have a lot of dots on above it. So I can immediately find out, oh, okay, this is a sabudana vada. I will use that for my prediction next time when I see that one, right? So that is similar, exactly the same way we have to make our algorithms to work. Okay. We need a huge label data, process the data, identify the pattern, and use that patterns for prediction. Okay. Great. Right. Next step. Okay. There are 3 layers in neural network. Okay. When we talk about the neural network, it's not about the brain neural network. Okay. Computer neural network. So people may, the scientists may claim what are the different stages in our brain, but still I believe our brain is not yet completely studied. It's a fact. Yeah. Nobody can say that 100% it works in this way. Nobody can say. You might have seen different people with the different capabilities, different weakness, different things. It's very complex. Yeah. So we cannot say. But in terms of computing neural network or artificial neural network, we can divide the neural network into 3 different layers. Okay. Right. So there is something called input layer, where we will be giving our input data to this layer, and there will be something called hidden layer, and finally there will be called output layer. Okay. So your data classification or the prediction or any kind of guesses will go through these 3 layers, okay, before it actually show the prediction or making the guesses. Okay. Right. So here what will happen? So let's try to see what will happen in each of this layer. Okay. So like input layer. So in the input layer, we will grab the data. Okay. And we will convert that data to numbers. Okay. And then we will multiply with weights and bias. Okay. In neural network, the weights and bias is one of the very popular keywords or terminology you should know. Without understanding what is weights and bias, you may not be able to completely understand what is an artificial neural network. Okay, let's see about that. Okay, so weights and bias are the learnable parameters in a neural network. So if you remember, I told you about how much each and every time when you classify the image, I need to find the recurring pattern. So how much when I find the pattern, so how will you weight the pattern? How will you know that these patterns are matching? So I will use a weight parameter and the bias parameters to understand okay, this is closer to my Sabudana Vada or something. I will say what is the weightage for the prediction. Okay, these weights and bias will be very useful when I go in the next stages of my conversion or prediction. Okay, so let's quickly see what is there in the hidden layer. Okay, so hidden layer will basically fetch data from the previous layer, input layer, and then here we will be applying some mathematical function and pass it on. Okay, this is a place we will be trying to apply a lot of mathematical models on the layer data fetched from the previous layer, and there cannot be only one hidden layer. There may be thousands and millions of hidden layers, and these will be very busy in applying what kind of mathematical function is required on each and every input layer data for next level. Okay, okay. So usually these mathematical functions are three layers. It can be a sigmoid, or it can be a tangential hyperbolic, or it can be a ReLU. ReLU is something like rectified linear unit. So these are the very popular or commonly used mathematical functions on input layer data to make it to ready for the next layer of data. Right. So here is the output layer. Here, based on the mathematical functions applied, here it will fetch the probabilities from the hidden layer. So as you know, what is the probability? So how can I say, if you fetch me a mango, I need to say what is the probability it looks like a mango. So I have to learn from the hidden layer. So output layer will make that job, and it will try to find the mean value of all these recurring pattern and probabilities. And finally, it will make predictions for classification. Okay. So finally, the output layer will make predictions for the classification. So that is the overall view of how the input layer, hidden layer, and output layers are working. Okay, sorry. Is that fine? Okay. So now we will try to differentiate what is a simple neural network and what is a deep learning neural network. Okay. The simple neural network, you can see there may be one level of hidden layer. There may be only one level of hidden layer. There may be one input layer and one output layer. Whereas in the deep learning neural network, okay, you can see there are multiple hidden layers. Okay, something like this. There are multiple hidden layers throughout the learning process. Okay, that is a very basic difference between a normal neural network or a simple neural network and a deep learning neural network. Okay, right. So that's how our brain works. So whenever, for example, when you want to see, when I give this our initial image to the computer for guessing or making classification, basically it will go through these layers. It will go through the input layer, get the data, hidden layer apply some kind of function, an output layer will try to find the probabilities and the mean value, and finally it should be able to identify from the image which one is called Gonda and which one is called Medu Vada. Okay, right? This is after learning. Don't think when I give the data for the first time it will predict. No, after a lot of learning, after you give different types of images of Gonda, Medu Vada and everything and feed it into the system, this will go through all that, and finally the output layer, the output classification will look something similar. Okay, and here again remember, the ANN will not say 100%. Okay, this will say, okay, this image, this will say this is Gonda. Okay, a 95% accuracy. Okay, and this is Medu Vada. Okay, with 90% accuracy. Okay, so with that kind of accuracy and probability prediction, and the system will be able to identify. Right. So now, with understanding of what is a neural network, let's try to go into what is CNN, convolutional neural network. Convolutional neural network is a type of deep learning neural network, and this is very, very popular among the research community or any kind of industry because of its inherent possibilities. Okay, in different use cases. Right. So what is the convolutional neural network? The convolutional neural network is nothing but a feed-forward neural network. So we are introducing a new keyword called feed-forward neural network. Okay. And this is very, very popular in CV, which means computer vision algorithms. Okay. If you want to go for an image processing algorithm or a computer vision, the CNN is one of the very popular algorithmic approaches used for these kind of purposes. Okay. This is a feed-forward neural network that analyzes visual images by processing different data. Okay, right. So it also known as popularly ConvNet. Okay, so you might be seeing many research papers in ConvNet. So this is nothing but the convolutional neural network. Okay, the convolutional neural networks used to detect and classify object in an image. So okay, it's basically when you want to set in an outset, it is going to use for detecting and classifying the objects. But inherently, if you see, it has lot of capabilities. Okay, this is what we need, right? You can think of many scenarios when you walk on the road. Okay, so you need to you need to detect an object. Okay, when a car is coming straight to you, you should be able to go on the side. If you're not able to detect and classify this is a car, you will be at a problem, right? At a big damage. The same way here, you need to detect and classify objects. One of the biggest area for artificial neural network, and CNN will be capable of doing that, right? So let's quickly see how convolution neural network works. Okay, so this is taken from one of the resources I have given here. Okay, as I told you, in this convolutional neural network, CNN, I will call it a CNN. In CNN, when the image is fed into the system, first it will so first it will try to take that image into multiple pixels. Okay, it will try to take images into multiple squares, and each square, okay, it will be taken as a set of multiple images, multiple matrices, or multiple arrays of numbers. Okay, and there is a process called max pooling will happen. Okay, and from the max pooling, this will be going into the fully connected layer, and then it will go into the binary classification, and then it will be based on the different classification already we have labeled. It will say whether what is the probability of this image having. Okay, for example, by seeing the image, you can clearly say the probability of this image. This is not definitely not a sunset. This is not the dog, or this is not the cat. Correct? So here, this is a probability. So I can say 90% probability, 90% accuracy. This is a bird. Okay. So that's how and system will work. Okay. So first it will take it. We are going to go a little deep into this one, how each of these layers are working. Okay. Right. So CNN, how it works, let's see. Right. So here, the main objective or aim for the CNN is to get high level features. First, when you want to see, for example, when you want to identify something as a car or a bus or something, we first go ahead with the high level details, right? When something come at very far, let's say there is a bus coming at very far, if we can immediately see that, we cannot see the number, or I cannot see what is the color, everything. We are not going to see that immediately, right? First, we identify the outer images. That is a very basic high level feature identification is very, very important even for our brain. Okay. When it is come closer, I can identify what is the color of the bus, what is the number of the bus, and all that I can identify. Correct. But at the very high level, when I want to identify something, first I will say, okay, this is in a rectangle shape or something, this much length and all that. My brain will say, okay, there's a bus coming in 500 meters. Correct. The same way, the CNN is to extract high level features, right? Okay, so these are some of the key terminologies we need to remember if you want to know about what is CNN. Okay, so we need to know about what is the convolution layer, we need to know about what are strides, we need to know what is the ReLU layer, something like rectified linear unit layer. Other terms, it can be called as activation layer, also known as activation layer, and there is something called max pooling layer, and finally there is something called fully connected layer. Okay, so these are some of the important key terminologies you need to remember or you need to know when you want to learn about CNN. Okay, right. So the first one, let's see what is the convolution layer. Okay, the convolution layer, the purpose is to extract valuable feature from an image. Okay, to this layer, if you feed an image, the first step, it will try to see what are the valuable features I can extract from this image or the picture. Okay, and it will convolute the image with filters. When I say convolute, it's multiply the images with different filters. It is going to apply different filters. Okay, something like that. Okay, so as I told you, it will take an image pixel and there will be a filter with this matrix. So for each and every pixel of an image, it will try to apply that each and every pixel, it will try to apply the filter and try to extract that high valuable or highly valuable feature. Okay, that is the objective, right? So here, let's see in convolutional neural network how it works. I like this one of the GIF files, very good. See, for example, when you feed this image, okay, you can see here this is an input. So at first level, it will quickly try to scan the file. As I told you, it will try to take pixel by pixel and apply the filter, and it will try to create something called feature map. So this feature map, you can see the high level, it identify all these features. You can easily have a look at here. It is immediately identify the tree and there is a bird. That's the high level image identification or a feature identification, feature extraction happening in convolution layer. Okay. So next one, we have something called strides. So in CNN, strides are very popular term. So what is strides? So stride is nothing but the number of pixel shifts over the input matrix. Okay. If you have a look at the previous one, this image, okay, you can have a look how much time this matrix, you can have a look. I'm not sure, you might be able to see the small square that is moving in the input picture here, right? You can have a look the image pixel, how many times we are shifting. Okay, here we have one shift, right? We are doing one shift. Sometimes we will be doing two shifts, three shifts. It can have multiple shifts. Shift in the sense, now I'm moving one pixel at a time. I can extend it to 2 pixels at a time. I can extend it to 3 pixels at a time. So in this way, you can increase how it has to scan the picture. Okay, in an image. Okay, that is called stride. The number of pixel shift over the input matrix called stride. Okay, the stride one, move the filters to only 1 pixel. In the stride 2, we will move the filter to 2 pixels. In the same way, if you can have multiple level of strides. Okay, you can move the filters to 1 pixel or 2 pixel, 3, n number of pixels. Right. So here, let's have a quick look at how it works. Okay. Right. So this is an example for stride 1 with convoluted and filter. Okay. So let's assume this is my first pixel, this one, and this is a filter I have taken. Okay. So here, how it works, you can see from this picture how it's one. So this multiply, this is a function we are using. There are some chat messages. Do I need to have a look? Murugeshwari, is there anything important in the chat message?
Nothing, Ramakrishna. You can continue.
Okay. Any questions? Definitely, I will try to answer at the end. Okay. So here, you can see here is a filter, how it works. So you can have a look at these particular calculation, how it works. So it works like it will multiply. You can see this multiplication 7 cross 1, 7 cross 1 here, right? 7 and 1. Okay. And then 4 and 1, 4 cross 1, and then 3 cross 1. You can see. Okay. And then 2 cross 0, 5 cross 0. Okay, and then 3 cross 0 plus 3 cross minus 1, 3 cross minus 1, and 2 cross minus 1. So the sum and product is a thing, and it will give a weightage of 6 here. Okay, so in this way, these strides, this is for stride 1. In the stride 2, it will move to the next pixel. Okay, so this pixel will be move up, then it will go to the next pixel. In the stride 2, okay, so with stride 1 will filter, this is our image. You can have a look how the stride 1 is moving and what is the final output here. Okay, you can see here the image pixel is moving from one stride to another and do the same calculation whatever we have discussed in the previous slide and it assigns a number for my last output here. Okay, so each and every output is after the product and sum, and what we are seeing is here. It's a simple matrix multiplication is happening. Okay, right. So now, so that is how a stride 1 works. So if you want to go for stride 2, you will take 2 pixels at a time and you will try to multiply. So in this way, there will be more strides. It depends on the complexity of an image, complexity of an application. The filter and the strides will differ. Right, right. This next layer, the next terminology is called ReLU layer. Is something but rectified linear unit layer. Okay. So here it performs the element-wise operation and set all the negative pixel to 0. So here when we have an negative images, it is doesn't going to make any difference at the output, right? So what we are going to do, we are going to make all the negative numbers mostly into 0. So this will be not only that, it does more than that. The final output here will be a rectified future map. Okay. Remember, our whole objective is to extract the features. In this layer, the output for us is a rectified feature map. So how it works, you can have an action here. Okay. So it will go through the same way when you give the input feature map from the previous layer. Okay. After applying rectified image, you can have, you can see that, so only non-negative values will be highlighted more. You can see an image difference between these two images. Comparing the first one and the second one, you can see this one is, we are getting closer, right? The second image, you can have a look. We are getting closer to the image. So this is somewhat blurred, but here, after the rectified feature map, I can see the features more clearly, right? It's highly visible compared to my previous layer. Okay, right. So the next one is called the pooling layer. Okay, so here it ignore all the negative. Okay, take only positive and highlight it. So that is called rectified feature map. So next one is called a pooling layer. Whereas in pooling layer, there will be a two-dimensional downsampling will be reduced. Okay, downsampling something like, see, I can have a big image. If it is the image size is very big, I can have multiple dimensions of matrices, right, for my image. So here the objective for the pooling layer is to reduce the dimensionality. Okay, so reduce to mostly like a two-dimensional. So here the output, the final output for this layer is called pooled feature map. Okay, right. So here, as you can see here, so here, after applying max pooling with 2x2 filters and stride 2 level, so I will be seeing my pool feature map can be converted, the whole fuel feature map can be converted into this 6847. This is for, from the rectified feature map, I reduce my thing to the pool feature map. Okay, right. So I will try to say what, so I will try to apply the same thing what I did in the previous layer, and I will try to see what is the max of all these things. Okay, here the max of this is 4. That's what I was seeing here. So when I take all these things, my max of this layer is 6. So I just put it here. When you take 8, when I take this one, 8 is the maximum, I put it here. And when you take this one, 7 is the maximum, I put it here. Okay, so in this way, the pool feature map will try to reduce the dimensionality that is coming from the previous rectified feature map. Okay, right. Right. So the objective for the pooling layer, even though we are reducing with the maximum number, but the outcome of this particular pooling layer is to identify the edges, corners, and curves. Okay. So as you can see here from this picture, this pooling layer output, you can see it clearly identified the edges. Correct. It clearly identified the edges very clearly with this, and almost like, see, so these will give a clear idea about what is actually what these particular images contain and everything. Yeah, so that is the idea for this particular pooling layer. Wherever the edges are there, wherever the curves, see, even in our real life, these edges and curves are very important when you go for drawing. Okay, for example, you want to learn any kind of painting or drawing. Have you noticed the art master will ask you to first draw the lines, right, and then the edges? That is very important in painting. Yeah? Why? Because our brain first it quickly identify the edges and corners to classify an image. Correct. So if you haven't see, when I see something at the park, okay, there is a bus coming, the very edges and corners are very important for me. So I can quickly see there is a line like a rectangle. I can see the corners, and even if you identify the car, how we classify different cars, it based on the corners, the edges, and everything, right? So this pooling layer plays that part. Okay, so this is one of the very important layers here. Okay, so next one is called flattening. Now the biggest image can be converted into 2D image. From the 2D image, now we are going to have a single continuous long linear vector. So flattening is the one we are going to do with that. Okay, so as you can see here, it's not going to apply any mathematical things here. From the full future map, I will flatten it to have it a single layer map. Okay, single long linear vector 6, 8, 4, 7 is nothing. So it will do a kind of, that is called flattening in CNN. Okay, sorry, I think this is okay, right. So another one, so as we are now clear with different kind of layers, so after the full layer we get a two-dimensional. From the two-dimensional we go for a single layer in flattening, and finally it comes to the fully connected layer. And this is one of the important layers where this will try to predict the best label to describe the image. Okay, right. So this gives the final probability for each label. So it identify with each label and it will say what is the probability. Okay, right. So CNN goes through a back propagation process to determine the most accurate weights. Okay, so here the back propagation is another important term. So I would leave this for you to go and research, and this is one of the very good research area. Whereas the back propagation is completely different, where the values are moving back and forth in a fully connected layer. The probabilities of the different value generated, the weights and bias will go back and forth within the layer to get good accuracy. Okay, to get most accurate weights. Okay, and here the neurons votes on each label and the final decision will be taken. Okay, so even within our brain there is a voting mechanism. Okay, the back propagation support the voting mechanism to select which weights can most closely matching with the label. Okay, so the voting mechanism happens to take a final decision. Okay, right. So here is the quick summary of what we discussed. Okay, so there is a feature extraction, multiple hidden layers. It comprises of all these things. So this output of these layers will go into the fully connected layer to identify the classification in the output layer. Okay, right. So, right. So to summarize, these are the steps. The image pixels are fed to the conv layers. Okay, and the output after this layer is called convol map. And we will be applying a ReLU function, rectified linear unique function. If you remember, I told you about different type of function, sigmoid or tangential, hyperpolar, and all this stuff. And in this CNN, we will be applying rectified linear unit, and the output here is rectified linear unit map. And after this stage, we will be locating all the futures, and there will be multiple ReLU and convolution layers. And we will be applying the pooling and filters to identify the specific part. Okay, and then we will be applying a process called flattening, and this flattening vector or an array or a matrix will be fit into the fully connected layer, and the fully connected layer will go for back propagation, voting, and everything to make a labeling and do a final classification and prediction. Okay, so that's how and CNN layer works. Okay, so I believe I have tried to cover CNN. Again, it's a very vast area. I try to cover the overview of CNN. Okay, so with this understanding, I'm sure you can go to the next level and you can start reading or applying CNN for your own research problems or any kind of problems. Okay, right. So here in this slide, I would like to talk about some of the applications of CNN. As I told you before, the CNN find its application vast majority. Okay, and very popular. Since we are in India, I would request, we know agriculture is our backbone. The CNN plays a very vital role in agriculture for various things. Smart farming, okay, or smart agriculture, smart farming is a very big area where you know that we are running out of manpower for this. Okay, so the using AI algorithms, AI tool, we can apply the algorithms for how we can make smart agriculture or smart farming. Okay, this is one of the very vast area. And another one is the healthcare. Many of the companies around the world are using AI for healthcare. Even in the COVID-19 situation, if you think of it, see for example, people who got COVID positive in let's say in February, okay, it might have taken 25 days or 1 month to recover. But nowadays, if you see somebody got positive in last month, let's say in September, it will take less than 10 days for them to recover, right? Because we learn a lot of data. So there are a lot of AI algorithms running around the world, and they are trying to find out what is the pattern for the COVID-19 affected people and how they can be rectified. And now we are more aware, right? So initially we don't know anything, and after 6 months or something, we are very much aware about the various details. Whenever you are getting the details or the information from the WhatsApp, don't take it for granted. Okay, 80% of the time, this information may be coming after a research or after applying some kind of algorithm or something, it coming to us. Okay, any useful information. Okay, so in healthcare, it plays a very vital role. And then in surveillance, you might be heard about the smart cities, where the smart city projects with the smart lighting or the security forces and all that. The smart surveillance is the biggest area where we need to identify the people, identify emotions, right? And I heard in China, in one of the cities, they have installed and cameras with the CNN, that can identify people emotions as well. Okay, it's very interesting to see. So in the very big street, if somebody with a false motive or a negative motive, they can immediately identify them and they can follow them. Okay, so somebody is talking about privacy and all. That's, of course, that is another factor, another area of discussion. Okay, right. So another one is a self-driving cars. As I told you, identifying object and classifying them is very, very important in self-driving cars. Okay, as a human, when we are a human driver, we are able to know, we know where is an zebra crossing, or which one is which one a human or animal, which one is a post, which one is a signal, everything we know. So how we can make a smart cars or the autonomous cars to identify that? Okay, the CNN plays a vital role in self-driving car implementation. Okay, so already these companies are very heavily using the CNN for various purposes, like Facebook or Google, IBM, Twitter, Baidu in China. So all these companies are very effectively using this CNN algorithm, not only now, for a long time. Okay, right. I have listed only few. You can search by yourself to find out other areas as well. Okay, right. So in this slide, I wanted to give you a quick info about the 60+ startup that use a deep learning. Okay, I always go for this kind of information. Why? Because you see here, the startups in the market, they are not like they planned yesterday night and they are starting their company today. No, they might have done a lot of research before starting or applying, or they have taken a problem, how an AI algorithm or deep learning can solve their problem. They might have come into the market, right? So these are all very, very valuable information for you if you are really cared about how you can take CNN forward for your own business or whatever. Okay, so here you can see some of the companies. Okay, for example, if you want to find out more CNN, if you are a guy, you want to know about high real time, how it is used. Okay, I would suggest go to any of the companies here. Or for example, if you are interested in e-commerce, okay, so go and check with this Cortexica or any kind of company. Go to their website and see. You can find lot of white papers. That is very much valuable. Instead of you find yourself about everything, you are that white paper available in all these sites. Okay, you go for, if your area is healthcare or robotics or anything else here. Okay, if your area is anything, go to any of these companies website and see what they have done, and try to see is there any white paper, and try to find. I'm sure that this information will be very, very, very helpful for you. Okay, so I request you to please go through this slide. I will share the slides later. Go to any of these companies website and try to find the information. It will be very useful. Okay, right. So next one, this slide talks about what are the tools and technologies available in the market. As you can see, last few years, maybe 5 to 10 years, the AI tools and technologies become widespread. It's very common and it's widely used by the researchers, academicians, or the industries, everything. Okay, these are all some of them. Okay, and out of which there are two things are very, very popular. Okay, two things they give a lot of support. If you want to start a project tomorrow, you can do it with these two things. What are they? This one, TensorFlow and PyTorch. So they are the pioneers in the market. According to the latest survey and 2020, okay, the most widely used tool for AI or deep learning related stuff is these two. Okay, TensorFlow and Python. Python specifically PyTorch. It's based on the Python. So if you have the basic programming knowledge with a Python or TensorFlow, is a kind of a tool that you can quickly learn and you can use it. And even then, if you have knowledge with the R programming or Java, okay, Scala, I'm sure Java might be very popular. Okay, again, Lua is another popular language. So these are some of the various tools, but I would suggest if anybody is working on the research paper or anything, these are some of the very popular tools that you can use for your actual implementation. Okay, so try to have a look at these tools and technologies. Okay, right. So what is the future of AI? So here is a quick look from one of the sites. I have given the reference here. Okay, right. So today the artificial, we call this as an artificial narrow intelligence, okay, which is a less than human intelligence. So we cannot say that our intelligence, the AI intelligence is better than us. It's less than human. It cannot even compare. Okay, less than human. In 2040, we can expect something equal to human intelligence, that is called artificial general intelligence. And 2060, you can expect something like Endiran 2.0. Okay, so something like artificial super intelligence, far greater than human intelligence. And of course, so this comes with the danger factors as well, right? There are dangerous vital factors as well. So I believe the whole earth or the globe will evolve to match with that. I'm sure these AI cannot beat with the human intelligence. I'm sure about that. But they are predicting 2060, it can become artificial super intelligence, which is more powerful than human intelligence. Okay, all right. So I would like to end up my session with this interesting quote from one of the very popular AI expert called Mark Cuban. Okay, so he says, ANN, artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, whatever you are doing, if you don't understand it, learn it. Okay, because otherwise you are going to be a dinosaur within 3 years. Okay, what does it mean? If you are living now, and if you say that you are in an you are the background of IT or something, CIS or something, it is very much important that you, instead of hearing about AI, deep learning, machine learning, anything, try to learn a bit. Otherwise, after 3 years, you will be extinct. Okay, so that is a summary of this message. Okay, so you'll become dinosaur within 3 years. Okay, okay, right. So thank you very much for listening. So I'm happy to take anything with you, any questions and anything with you. I leave the floor open for any questions. Anybody have any questions? Let me quickly see if there are any chat messages. Oh, sorry. Anybody have any questions? Hello. Anybody have any questions? Am I audible?
Audible only.
So which means you didn't get anything out of my presentation, yeah? No questions. Okay, sure. Anyway, I have given my
Any
links.
questions from participants? Your presentation is very nice.
Okay, thank you.
It was a nice session.
Okay. Fine. We'll conclude then. Can conclude, Dr. Mugeshwari?
You can conclude, Ramakrishnan.
Right. Is there anything in the chat? Okay. No. Okay, thank you very much, all the participants. And also, I would like to thank Dr. Murgeshwari for giving me this nice opportunity. And also the management of LMR for giving me this opportunity. So I will be interested to connect you again in another forum. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you so much, Ramakrishnan. Thank you so much. Once again. Thank you.